After studying this module, you shall be able to know about the role of email in investigations, the user and server roles in email investigations, concept and methodology of email tracing. Over the past few years, email has become a primary mean of communication, and most computer users have email programs to receive, send and manage email. These programs differ in how and where they store and track email. Some are installed separately from the operating systems and require their own directories and information files on the local computer. Others take advantage of existing softwares such as web browsers and install no additional software on the client computer. Email evidence has become an important part of many computing investigations, so computer forensic investigators must know how email is processed to collect this essential evidence. In addition, with the increase in the email scams and fraud attempts with phishing or spoofing, investigators need to know how to examine and interpret the unique content of email messages. Investigating crimes or policy violations involving email is similar to investigation other types of computer abuse and crimes. The objective is to find out who is behind the crime or policy violation, collection of the evidence and present the findings to build a case for prosecution or arbitration. Email crimes and violations depend on the city, state and sometimes country in which the email originated. Committing crimes with email is becoming usual, and more investigators are finding communications that link suspects to a crime or policy violation through email. For instance, some individuals use mail when committing crimes such as extortion, narcotics trafficking, stalking, sexual harassment, fraud, child abductions, child pornography, terrorism, and so on. Since email has become a major communication medium, any crime or policy violation can involve email. One of the most noteworthy email cheats was 419 or the Nigerian scam, which originated as a chain letter from Nigeria, Africa. Fraudsters now need only access to internet email to solicit victims, thus saving postage cost of international mail. Contrasting innovative, more urban phishing email frauds, 419 messages have certain distinguished maneuvers and a characteristic inscription style. For example, the correspondent inquires to access the user's bank account so that he can transfer his money to it as a way to avert corrupt government officials in his native country for appropriating it. The correspondent every so often promises to recompense monetarily if a minor payment is made or access to bank account is permitted. The messages are usually in uppercase letters and use poor grammar. Now, understanding email servers. An email server is encumbered with software that uses email protocols for its services and preserves logs that can be examined and used during the investigation. As a computer forensic investigator, one cannot recognize everything about email servers. This emphasis should not be to learn about how a particular email server works, but how to retrieve information about emails for an investigation. Generally, working meticulously with the network administrator or email administrator is beneficial as he is time and again willingly to help finding the data or files desired and might even suggest new ways to find information. Besides this, internet research or use of forensic tools is also a way of investigative emails related cases. To investigate email exploitations, one should be acquainted with how an email server records and handles the email it receives. Some email servers uses databases that store users' emails and others uses a flat file system. All email servers can maintain a log of emails that are processed. Some email servers are set up to log email transactions by default, while others must be configured to do so. Most email administrators log operations and message traffic to recover emails in case of a disaster. To make sure the firewall and email filters are working correctly and to implement company policy. Nevertheless, the email administrator can disable logging or use circular logging, which overrides the log file when it reaches a quantified size or at the end of a specified time frame. Circular logging saves valuable server space, but after it's overwritten, the log cannot be recovered. For example, on Monday, the email server records traffic in the mon.log file. For the next 6 days, the email server uses a log for each day, such as tues.log, ved.log, and so forth. On Sunday at midnight, the email servers start recording email traffic in mon.log, overwriting the information logged the previous Monday. The only way to access log file information is from a backup file which many email administrators create before a log file is overwritten. Email logs generally identify the email messages and account received, the IP addresses from which they were sent, the time and date the email servers received them, the time and date the client computer accessed the email contents, system specific information, and any other information the email administrator wishes to track. Now, user-servers association in emails. Email can be sent and received in two environments, either through the internet or through the intranet, an internal network. In both email environments, messages are distributed from a central server to many connected client computers, a configuration called client-server architecture. The server runs as email server programs such as Microsoft Exchange Server, Unix, SendMail, or Novell Groupwise to provide email services. Client computers uses email programs, also known as email clients, such as Novell Evolution or Microsoft Outlook, to contact the email server and send the retrieved email messages. Irrespective of the operating system or email program, user access their email based on permissions the email server administrator grants. These permissions prevent users from accessing each other's email. To retrieve messages from the email server, users identify themselves to the users as when logging onto the network. Then emails are delivered to their computers. Email services on both the internet and intranet uses client-server architecture, but they differ in how client accounts are allocated, used and managed, and in how users access their email. Largely, an intranet email system is for the private use of network users, and internet email systems are for public use. On an intranet, the email server is generally part of the local network, and an administrator manages the server and its services. In most cases, the intranet email system is specific to a company, used only by its employees and regulated by its business practices, which usually include strict security and acceptable use policies. For example, network users cannot create their own email accounts, and usernames tend to follow a naming convention that the email administrator determines. Now, the next, investigation of emails. After it has been determined that a crime has been committed involving email, first and foremost the victim's computer should be accessed to recover the evidence. Using the victim's email client, any potential evidence should be searched and copied. It might be necessary to log on the email service and access any protected or encrypted files or folders. The contents of the email must be copied, including its header. The header contains unique identifying numbers such as the IP addresses of the server that sent the message. This data aids tracing the email to the suspect. In some cases, recovery of email is required after a suspect has deleted it and tried to hide it. Following steps are required to be followed. Now, the first is copying of the email message. Before starting an email investigation, it is essential to copy and print the email involved in the crime or policy violation. With many email programs, email can be copied by dragging it to a storage medium such as a folder or drive, or by saving it in a different location. For email programs, it is run from the command line. However, after opening the message, it can be copied by using the copy option, which is usually located at the bottom of the screen. After copy of email is made, it is imperative to work on the copy only and not upon the original version, in order to avoid altering the original evidence by mistake. Now, the second is inspecting email headers. After a message has been copied and printed, the email program is used to find the email header that created it. This section includes instructions for viewing email headers in a variety of email programs, including Windows GUI clients, a Unix command line mail program, and some common web-based email providers. After the email headers are opened, the same is copied and pasted into a text document so that it can be read with a text editor such as Windows. Now, the third is scrutinizing email headers. The next step is scrutinizing the saved email headers to gather information about the email and to track the suspect to the email originating location. The crucial piece of information is to look for the originating email domain address or an IP address. Other supportive information consists of the date and time the message was sent, file names of any attachment, and unique message numbers if it's supplied. Fourth, examining additional email files. Email programs save messages on the client computer or leave them on the server. How emails are stored depends upon the settings on the client and server. On the client computer, all the emails are saved in a separate folder for record keeping purpose. For example, in Outlook, messages can be saved as sent, draft, deleted, and received emails in a .pst file, or can be saved offline files in an .ost file. With these client files, .pst and .ost, user can access and read their email offline. When the computers are connected to the central email server. Most email programs also include an electronic address book, also known as contact, and many offer calendars, task lists, and memos. Tracing emails. As part of the investigation, email origin is determined by further examining the header with one of the various available free internet tools. Determining message origin is referred to as tracing. For an email, one can visit its web page to find out who administers the domain. If the point of contact isn't listed on the website or the domain doesn't have a website, registry site can be used to determine the point of contact. It is virtual to keep in mind that the suspect might have posted false information, so it is compulsory to corroborate the findings by inspecting network email logs against email addresses. Network administrators maintain logs of the inbound and outbound traffic routers handle. Routers have rules to allow or deny traffic based on source or destination IP address. In most cases, a router is set up to track all traffic flowing through its ports. Using these logs, path of the transmitted email can be determined. The network administrator who manages routers can supply the log files whereas it is required or demanded by the investigating authority. The router logs are reviewed to find the victim's recipient's email and the unique ID number is searched for this purpose. Network administrators also maintain logs for firewall that filter internet traffic. These logs can help verify whether an email message passed through the firewall. Firewalls such as WatchGuard, Cisco PIX, and Checkpoint maintain log files that track internet traffic destined for other networks or the network the firewall is protecting. Administrators usually set email servers to continuous logging mode. They can also log all email information in the same file or use one log file to record, for example, date and time information, the size of the email, and the IP address. These separate log files are extremely useful when an email header is available with a date and time stamp and an IP address, and the investigation demand filtering or sorting of the log files to narrow the search. After the source of the email has been identified, the network or email administrator contacted for the suspect's network as soon as possible. Some email providers, especially internet email providers, don't keep logs for a long time, and the logs might contain key information for the investigation. In addition to logging email traffic, email servers maintain copies of clients' emails even if the users have deleted messages from the inboxes. Some email servers don't completely delete messages until the system is backed up. Even if the suspect deletes the email, sometimes the email administrator can recover the email without restoring the entire email system. With one other system, however, the email administrator must recover the entire email server to retrieve one deleted message. This process is similar to deleting files on a hard disk. The file is marked for deletion, but it's not truly deleted until another piece of data is written in the same place. Email servers wait to overwrite disk space until the server has been backed up. If date and time stamp for an email is available, the email administrator should be able to recover it from backup media if the message is no longer on the email server. Email has arisen as the most important application on internet for communication of messages, delivery of documents, and carrying out transactions and is used not only for computers but many other electronic gadgets like mobile phones. Email system comprises of various hardware and software components that include sender's client and server computers and receiver client and server computers with required software and services installed on each. Email system is an incorporation of several hardware and software components, services and protocols which provide interoperability between its users and among the components along the path of transfer. Over a period of years, email protocols have been secured through several security extrusions and producers. However, cybercriminals continue to abuse it for illegally purposes by sending phishing emails, spams, distributing child pornography and hatred emails beside disseminating virus, hoax, worms and Trojan horses. Email forensic analysis is used to study the source and content of email messages as evidence, identifying the actual sender, recipient and data and time it was sent, etc., to collect reliable evidence to bring criminals to justice. There are many tools which may assist in the study of source and content of email messages so that an attack or the malicious intent of the intrusions may be investigated. These tools, while providing easy to use browser format, automated reports and other features, help to identify the origin and destination of the message, trace the path navigated by the message, identify spam and phishing networks, etc.